Hi everyone, and welcome to Make It Happen TV. I have got a really exciting, extraordinary guest with me this afternoon who I'm really keen to introduce you to. And I'm going to drill over loads and loads of questions, the kind of questions that I know that you will want to know the answers to. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the amazing Lucy Bruce. How are you?
Thank you, I'm really well, excited to be here, thank
Great.
you.
Now, those of you that don't know Lucy, let me tell you a bit about her, okay? This is what I know so far, and I've only met her once before, and I'm sure there's a lot more that we're going to find out today. So Lucy owns, runs, manages her own charity. She runs a business. She's a mother with 3 kids. Well, she's got a husband, so she's probably got 4 kids if you put it that way. She's a really busy lady that's been over here in the Middle East that decided that she wanted to make a difference, decided that she was going to take some action and make a difference to people's lives. And that's what we're going to find out about this afternoon. I've been inspired in the meeting I had with her last week before I went on my bike ride. I got a chance to talk to her and learn a little bit about her story. You guys out there are going to find out much more about it this afternoon. So without taking any more time, Lucy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell me, where do we start with you? Because you, for many, many years, have been over here in the Middle East.
I have, yes.
You came, was it how many years ago?
18 years ago.
18 years ago.
I was 21 years old, fresh out of university.
So kind of wet behind the ears, green to the whole international experience.
Yeah, the first time being overseas by myself. Just decided to take the plunge. Decided that I was going to travel. I was a teacher, so I just got my teacher training course done and thought it's a great opportunity to travel and see the world. So I actually went to Abu Dhabi, got myself a teaching job in a little primary school there, and been here ever since.
So teaching job, how does a teaching job then lead to these magnificently wonderful and inspiring things that you've done? What happened to you? Where did you go one day, I'm not happy about this?
You know, it's a story and a half, really. Well, I started teaching, which I loved. It's my passion, children's my passion. But I always had something inside me that thought maybe I can do something else, something which would give more meaning, or I need to expand and broaden my horizons. And my father in the UK owned, I don't know if I told you this, but he owned a balloon business.
No.
I don't know.
Balloon?
Balloons.
Hot air balloons or
Not
balloons
hot air
you blow
balloons,
up?
balloons that you blow up. So I don't know if you can ever remember going to a store and somebody passing you out a helium balloon with messages on.
Yeah.
So at the time in Dubai, there was nothing like this. And I was living in Abu Dhabi, and I would come down at the weekends to Dubai, and I'd speak to my dad and say, there's so much going on, but they don't have these balloons. You'd make a packet if you came here. You should come and do it. And he said, I'm not going to move to Dubai, but why don't you try and sell these balloons? So I would teach in the day, and then in the afternoon I would get in my little car and drive up to Dubai and go knocking on advertising agency's door, which is where I met my husband. I knocked on the door of one advertising agency, and it was my husband.
Selling balloons?
So I said to, so I I've never done sales before. I knew a lot about balloons because I'd grown up with them. I can make a mean like balloony, the arches, and yeah. So I was, and I was 22, 23. So I'd go into these very corporate offices, which were quite out of my comfort zone, and I didn't know anything about business. And and I'd sit there and I'd put on this facade like, this is a great new medium, below the line, nobody's using it, it's traveling media, I want to put on this sales pitch, and people were interested. So when I went to my husband and showed him all of this, he was like, I love this product. He was working in another agency in Emirates Towers. I love this product, you have to come on board. And I had been thinking about giving up teaching and doing something different. So I spoke to my dad, I considered a few things. I gave up teaching, I moved down to Dubai, I joined this agency that my husband was a part of, and things started going really well. And I think within the first sort of 6 or 7 weeks, we'd sold 500,000 dirhams worth of balloons.
Really?
Yeah. So, but the problem was...
On the back of your door knocking?
Yeah.
Really?
But the problem was I was kind of in this agency that we'd had a little agreement going on where they would take so much money and I would take so much money, but everything was going through their bank account and I was on their visa and everything. And it worked, it made sense because I didn't have money to open my own business, and so it made sense. But then when I actually tried to get the money out, the owner didn't release the money. So I was in a situation where we'd made a lot of money, but then I had suppliers, I couldn't pay suppliers. And, and I couldn't get any money out for me. So kind of said, right, forget all of that, doesn't matter. My husband at the time had a little office in Media City when it first opened. You could get these little hot desks, and so we decided that we would both go and work from that hot desk. And he was also working with the Travel Channel.
So you were just dating at this time?
No, we were not.
Not even.
We were not dating
even at that point. So just somebody you knew that you decided
somebody I knew.
We
were working with. He was working with the Travel Channel as well. He was the African and Middle East, I think, and Asia as well. It's kind of the. He had the agency for advertising. So he said, okay, we'll both go onto this visa. I'll help you make this money back so that you can pay your suppliers, and we'll see where it goes from there. So again, I would go, knocking on doors. This time I would go to, car companies, and there was a lot going on back then. Dubai was really booming. There were so many events going on, and I think I was young, and people were in their grey offices in their little cubicles, and I would walk in and say, what do you need for your event? Let me help you. Let me make it happen. And my husband would say, don't say no to anything. Whatever it is, we can do it. So people would say, well, can you, okay, there's balloons, but then can you provide me with flags? Can you provide me with, some good giveaways? And I'd be like, of course, tell me what you want. I'll get back to you. I'd go back to my husband, and he would do all the work at that end. And in the end, we ended up again sort of doing, thank God, a fair amount of trade, and we were able to set up Insignia Worldwide, which has completely transformed now. I'm not there anymore. Obviously, there was a point where the business started to grow and evolve. We don't sell balloons anymore, sadly. Few. That's kind of
so
how I got out of teaching.
Did that. You learned how to sell.
I learned how to sell.
You were a teacher before.
I'd never sold. I learned how to run a business. I learned how to do accounts. I learned how to, create a cost estimate. All of these things which I'd never known how. I'd never knew how to do. And my husband, who again was just my business partner at the time, taught me everything. And we would work around the clock, during the day. We could be there in our jeans going up to put some balloons up somewhere or make a delivery, and then going into a corporate meeting in a suit, and then the next minute pretending we were the accountants on the emails, because we were wearing so many hats, and that's what we did. And it was a lot of fun, and I learned so much from it. And then obviously the business grew, we were able to buy our own offices, and Gaurav and I got together. That's another story entirely, but in the end we got together, we got married, and I became pregnant. And it was kind of at that point when I became pregnant with my daughter that I realised that Insignia Worldwide had evolved in such a way that I was finding it quite stressful. It is kind of...
What, that corporate environment?
Yeah, the corporate environment, the pressure from your clients that they put you under, deadlines, and I couldn't bear the disappointment when I if something wasn't up to standard, it would really stress me out. Like, oh my goodness, they didn't like it, or why not? And then I'd go into recovery mode and trying to do everything that I can. And of course, 9 times out of 10, the situation would be resolved and wonderful, and receiving the next order. But I just found it a lot of pressure. And now even today, when I see, the agency is, again, now it's specialises in luxury travel and tourism around the globe. So it continued to evolve, because of my husband and his background in marketing and tourism and hotels. So I just found it really stressful, and I found that I kind of gotten off track. I wasn't following what I believed my purpose was. Mm-hmm. I've always had that attraction towards children, So I decided that when I got pregnant, I would maybe see what I could do to give back a little bit. I'd been traveling to India many times with my husband, and I had seen firsthand the magnitude of the poverty there, which upset me a lot. It's something that I couldn't get out of my mind, and although we would go and then we would come back to lovely Dubai and everything was
Do you think
fine.
India's a place that you couldn't describe to somebody without them seeing it for themselves?
I don't think that you can ever prepare yourself if it's your first time going. And don't get me wrong, it's an amazing city and it's a place that I always feel at home in.
This is Delhi?
Delhi, or anywhere in India. I love India. You know, I always think maybe in the past life I was Indian, because it's a place I find enchanting and exciting and vibrant and warm and generous. It's all of those things. And you know, the beauty of India is that every day is different. You know, you will see something, you'll see a million things in one day that you would think that you would never see. So when we started traveling there, I fell in love with India, and I decided that I need to do something to help these kids.
So what triggered that? So you had a situation,
you know,
was it the poverty that just really bothered you, that you were like, oh, this is just so intense, I need to try and do something?
I think those triggers, Spencer, have always been with me since I was a child. I remember that, you know, I was always the child if there was, you know, someone being picked on in class, or there was, you know, somebody who was, you know, not within the group. I'd always be the one feeling sorry and for that child, and I'd go over and try and see how I could help or try and integrate them into our group. I would always be the one going around knocking on people's doors, collecting money for, you know, help the aged or whatever it was. I was always the first to volunteer if there was ever a charity campaign. So there was just something always in me that wanted to give back or to help others, and it's not something that I've tried to work towards. It's just been like an innate feeling that I've wanted to do something, and I think I'd been on many sort of trips before. I travelled the world and I visited many orphanages, but I think that when I went to India and I was spending more time there, it hit me hard. So I couldn't imagine.
So what did you do? What did you do? It hit you hard. So
it hit me hard.
Okay, hit you hard. What was your action? What did you decide?
Well, at first there was no action. There was just lots of thinking about it and feeling sorry for these people.
For how long?
For probably a year.
Okay.
You know, I would go and I would try and do something while I was there. So, you know, I would say, okay, let's go and buy items and deliver it to people's tents or homes or slums or whatever. Let's find people, maybe we can do something small to help. Or, you know, I'd say to my husband, oh, please give this person begging some money. He'd be like, you can't do that. And I'd be like, oh, please just give them some money. Look, they've got children. And, you know, he'd end up doing it, and then we'd get mobbed, and it was just we were going about it the wrong way. It was not sustainable. And I sat down with Gaurav, who's my husband, and said to him one day, look, what can we do? And I also spoke to my mother-in-law, who lives in Delhi, and she said, well, let's find a really nice charity that we can work with, and we have some great friends who have always been so supportive, and they're aligned with our thoughts and beliefs. That we need to do something to give back. Let's find a really nice charity and let's do something with them and make a difference. There are a lot of NGOs and charities in India that are doing great work and need our help. So we set out to find a number of charities, or that one that we felt really pulled at our hearts, and we knew that they needed our support. So that's what we did. We found a charity. It was actually working with blind children, and it was the organisation itself, although it had been established for many years, it was in a mess. It was in a complete mess. And we were talking the other day, and I think I explained to you that I believe that they just thought these children can't see anything, so it really doesn't matter what their environment's like. And you know, it was dirty, it was dark, they were sleeping on the floor, there was there were zero hygiene policies and procedures in place. I thought, great, let's get them beds, let's get them mattresses, we'll get a fridge, we'll redo the kitchen, there's a lot that can be done here. So we went back to our wonderful and generous friends and said, can we do something? Is there anything monthly that we can get together? And they said, yeah, of course. And everybody pledged, and we were able to get a large amount of money, or substantial, that could make a difference to send to this charity. And sadly, the money wasn't being used properly. So when I go back and visit, the money had not been spent on what we had agreed together that it was going to be spent on. So they had put a playground in, which was great because the children did need a playground, but they had then put a sign to say that it had been donated by the lady that we had given the money to. So that I found really disappointing, because not that anybody, and we didn't need any credit for it, but I just felt like there was that started the lack of trust between myself and the management there. And the things that they really did need, like they needed comfortable beds to sleep on, that's something that I was quite adamant, like that's where the money needs to go. Basic, human rights need to be taken care of first. Playground, the children can play outside, they had a great space, and as being a child, we can keep ourselves entertained outside as long as we have somewhere to run. But it was just really disappointing. It was a blow to me, because I'd taken people's money, I had, put my name to it and said, yes, this is the right path, we can make a difference together, and we hadn't. So I felt very disappointed. I felt like I'd let the children there down. I felt like I'd let my friends down, and ultimately not made a difference, and then we started working with another charity, and something similar happened again, another children's charity. And at this point, I was feeling very deflated. I was thinking, maybe there's just no point in doing this, And I just had an idea of, if I'm struggling getting the funds that we've managed to raise to the children that really need it, what do I need to do? Okay, I need to create something myself so that I have overall the power and the knowledge to know where every penny, rupee, dollar, dirham is being spent.
Good idea.
And all of a sudden, I just sort of started getting all of these ideas. Okay, we're gonna have a home, and it's gonna be called Harmony House, and we're gonna have just 10 children, and we're gonna give them the best education, and we're gonna have house mothers, and it's only girls, and that was kind of my focus. But then when things started getting serious, and we kind of realised that, okay, there is a way to do this, there is a path that we need to follow, there's procedures that we need to follow. The Indian government came back to me and said, are you mad? Why would we just give you 10 children? We don't know who you are. You have never lived in India. You're not an Indian national. So, no.
Fair point.
Yeah, and I was like, I hadn't thought of that. What was I thinking? I hadn't even thought. There I was with all good intentions, thinking I'm going to open this wonderful orphanage, and we're going to have these 10 children. We're going to change their lives, and I hadn't thought about the reality of that process. So back to the drawing board. But what they did say is that if you want to open something which is a day centre, we haven't got a problem with that, as long as the children are not completely under your care. We can come and we can evaluate and assess and observe what you are doing. We can make sure that you're following, all of the policies in place that we have. And so that's what I decided to do. And I thought, okay, somewhere along the line, I'll still open the orphanage, but just not right now. This will be a different path. So that's what we started working on, and that's how Harmony House became a daycare shelter.
So Harmony House is the name of your charity.
It is, yes.
It's your brainchild and your baby. You talk about it with lots of passion and enthusiasm. You started at that point. It's been running now for how long?
It's been running for 8 years.
In 8 years, How many lives have you changed?
We've had over 1,000 children come through our doors.
So 1,000 kids have come through your charity in 8 years.
Yes, and we currently have 500, just over 500 with us. And of course, every year there are children that then go on to work placements or college placements, various vocational training or further education. So
now I know you're kind of cool and conservative, and you play this kind of stuff down, but you've taken in 8 years 1,000 kids and you've improved their lives just because you decided one day, no more, I'm going to make a difference. Isn't that the most incredible thing?
You know what I'm going to say now, don't you? It is. It's amazing. But I think there was a bigger force working with me.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was something. There'd be days where I'd go to sleep thinking, my goodness, we've got to raise so much money for the next month. When you first start out, we didn't have massive pots of money, and back then we were relying on a very small database of people who are our friends to support. We hadn't figured out how we're going to reach, multinationals or corporations to help us. So there'd be days where, I think, okay, we haven't reached our targets for next month. Okay, well, I really need to do that, and it would keep me awake at night. And then the following day, some angel would appear and help where it was needed.
So this journey's obviously been incredibly fulfilling for you and inspiring, and your kids have had the opportunity to be exposed to this as well, which I think is only really valuable for their futures too. How does somebody that's wrapped up in doing that then say, right, I need to start a business?
So,
because almost running a charity is like running a business.
It is. It was like running a business, and again, I had never even thought of opening my own business. I'd done it with my husband, so I'd kind of been there, done that.
Yeah, don't want to do that again.
But I have this wonderful friend called Beverly Jatwani, who was working at Emirates. She'd worked there for many, many years, and she had this notion that we were going to open a business together. And she'd keep calling me up and say, come on, let's do something. And then I started humouring her and engaging in conversation. And okay, what is it what do you think we should do? Okay, I think we should do something with children. It has to be something holistic. It has to be something that adds value to children's life and to parents, something that's nourishing. And we thought about, okay, do we need to open an organic restaurant for children? But then it kind of hit us after we'd had many, many conversations, and we were like, okay, we are going to do something. That my background's in education, that's my passion, and her background's in operations. We both had 3 children. We both had our children in nurseries, wonderful nurseries, but we knew that there was perhaps differences that we would do if we had our own nurseries, and we knew that there was a market for nurseries. So we decided we wanted to do a nursery school that had a completely different angle on education, which is where Homegrown Children's Eco Nursery kind of came to light. It was given birth to Homegrown, which, yeah.
So you set this nursery up. What's different about it for the viewers? Simple terms. I'm sure there's many differences. Simple terms. What's different about Homegrown nurseries to the other nurseries that are here in the UAE?
Our ethos is about giving back to the planet, to the community, taking care of our world, and that's really engraved in the core of what we do and is entwined and deeply embedded in our curriculum. And every day when the children come to us, we start and we end our day with, how can we make today a better day for ourselves and for others?
Okay, Now let's do the numbers on this one then as well. How long has Homegrown Eco Nurseries been up and running?
6 years.
That's 6 years. So 2 years after you start the charity, you're now into your business. How many nurseries do you have?
2.
Okay, and how many kids have gone through your doors in the last 6 years?
Oh gosh, I mean we have.
What age group do you have them?
We have them from 12 months to 4 years plus.
Okay.
So we have 300 children between both nurseries. So
Currently,
yes.
and each year kids graduate out and new kids
graduate.
come in.
So yeah, 1,000 easy.
Easy 1,000 in the last 6
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
Crikey. Okay, so we've got all these kids that have gone through Harmony House and had the love and support that you have given, along with the people you work with. You then set up the Eco Nurseries as a business.
Yes.
That's been recognised for its differences here in the UAE.
Yeah.
Tell me how it got recognised.
I think we were always on the spectrum of being different, and we offered parents and families and ultimately children the chance to come to a beautiful environment. We have a huge emphasis on outdoors. So, you know, if you come in the winter, most of the time they're outdoors, they're gardening, they're planting, they're, you know, drawing on the pavements, you know, all through guided activities which are working towards a particular objective. But I kind of attribute the success to Homegrown to the fact that we were never money driven. It's never been about that, you know. Much to our husband's disappointments, it's always been about creating this environment where parents and children and families can come and know that they matter.
Yeah, but by not focusing on the money, you've made it into a financially successful business.
Yes, it has been financially successful, and the other great thing is that it's helped us support Harmony House. So we have a pairing system, a buddy system, where every child that comes to the nursery is paired with a child at Harmony House, and the fees that you pay at the nursery pays for that child. And you know, they do lovely activities. We Skype them, we send pictures back and forth of, you know, celebrations, and that's a big part of their everyday learning, to learn about these children at Harmony House. So not only were we able to be financially stable from running these businesses, but we were also able to take that pressure off, you know, how are we going to raise these funds every month, by being able to support the charity as well. And that's where I'm really grateful to Beverly, to my business partner, is that we were very much on the same path, and when it came to what do we want out of this business. And I think that's why it works, because people come in and they can see that it's authentic and genuine. You know, if we need to...
No doubt, I was there the other day, so I would agree with that.
Yeah, and our accountant will say, come on, let's sit down and talk numbers. And I'm like, oh no, like, you know, Beverly said, you do it. I'll say, no, you do it, you know. And, you know, the management will be banging their heads together saying, what is wrong with these two? You know, why won't they we can't get them in a room to talk numbers, and, you know. And I think the day that we dread the most is when we have the auditors in and they, you know, they want to go through everything. And Beverly's like, did you understand that? I'm like, no, did you? No. Did we make money yet? Okay, great. Yeah, that's like...
But you're talking about opening another branch?
We would like to open another branch. We certainly have a lot of interest. I think our next step would be maybe to go into a different area, because we have two very close together in the Jumeirah area. So we're looking at options, and we have a great team in place, and I think that maybe, you know, the following academic year we can definitely research and see, you know, if it's viable and if we can find a great location with the space that we need. And that's something that it takes a lot of time.
So The reason that I find you really interesting is that you're an entrepreneur and you don't even know it. Okay?
I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur.
No, I know you wouldn't. You know, I met you before and I absolutely know that if I said you're an entrepreneur,
like,
that's not me.
Who's the entrepreneur in the room?
But what does an entrepreneur look like? And they come in many guises. It's not just that person that is that stereotype, shape and look of an entrepreneur or a small business owner. You're essentially somebody that was passionate about wanting to make a difference in India. You tried to do it the way you saw best fit, and then you realized that, hey, that's not going to work. And then you made a big step of becoming completely responsible yourself by setting up Harmony House. That's on its own a big undertaking. Then to decide, I'm going to set a business up, and that business is going to do something to support Harmony House, but also have a completely different perspective. And considering there's hundreds of nurseries in Dubai,
there are a lot.
To come up with a strategy that was completely different to what everybody else was doing and pull it off, because lots of people talk about things being different, but not actually do things differently. You guys clearly do. So not only do you design a business that's different to what everybody else is doing, not only do you pull it off, you've made a success out of it, and you're still not thinking about the money, you're still not thinking about how successful you've become. And when you measure success, it can be measured in so many ways. It doesn't just have to be money, we all know that. But to see what you've done with so many kids going through Harmony House, to see what you've done bringing all these kids coming through this nursery, you must be so proud of yourself. It's a team effort.
Okay. It is. It's really a team effort from, the people who are supporting me at home, Beverly, my business partner, the incredible team that we have at the nursery. We have phenomenal teachers, phenomenal management, and at Harmony House, the people who are working with our children every day, giving it their all in hard conditions. It's hot sometimes, or it's very, very cold. It's long hours. It's tiring. There's more children in a class than should be in a class. It's a lot. There's emotional problems.
Have you ever met anybody as modest as this? Anyone you know that as modest as this won't take anything, won't take the glory with anything, absolutely palms it away. It's really interesting when I talk to her about this. You don't, yes, of course you've got a great team, I get that, and then they have to be celebrated in the same way, of course, I get that, but the ideas come from somebody. And like with Bev, I'm sure she came up with ideas.
Yeah. Bev and I, homegrown, we bounce ideas off each other all the time. That's great. Harmony House, I have a great manager there, Harpriya and Meghna and Meenakshi and a host of other people who make sure that those little wheels are turning every single day. And there are times where I am able to, stop what I'm doing there and take time out, because I know that everything is in motion, and that the formula's working. It's like with anything, you put the brakes on, you take the brakes off.
Yeah, I get that.
And there are times where I need to be focused on my family. I've got 3 kids. So they.
Oh, did we not mention that? Okay, so runs a charity, built a business with a business partner. Okay, and you've got 3 kids to look after as well. So how old are your kids?
7 and 9 and 4.
Wow.
974.
So you've got the small getting up a little bit bigger, so they're a handful, I can imagine.
They are, and they're wonderful kids, and of course they drive me bonkers sometimes, as all children do. But
do you sometimes meet other mums or other parents that have an attitude of it's all a bit too much? That when you look at their situation, or they look at you, they think, how do you do it? Or you look at their situation and you think, there is more you could do. Stop giving yourself such limiting beliefs.
I'd never try to judge people, Spencer, because everybody is doing the best that they can of their situation. And in fact, I look at some women who are stay-at-home mums, and I have so much admiration for them, because it's the hardest job in the world. It's really hard to stay at home and be 100% focused on your children. I've done it, and although brilliant, best days of my life, it comes to a point where I felt that I'd stopped being me, and it was all about me serving my children, which is what a mother should do, don't get me wrong, and I'm so blessed that I'm able to do that. But I felt again that I was going off track, like there were other things that I needed to be doing, and I always tell myself that just because I'm a mother, it doesn't mean that I have to stop being me. Mm-hmm. And if I do stop being me, I'm kind of doing myself and even more my children an injustice, because they are not learning what they should be learning from their mother. So I have a great respect from women who that is their path, and there are times where I've had to lean on them because they've helped me with my children, and they've really helped me in a situation where I've needed that support. And there have been times where I've spoke to women who are considering maybe it's time now that I need to do something for myself or career-wise, or I'm looking at starting a business, and I've been able to offer them a small piece of advice. So I just think it's very, everybody's journey is really personal. And I heard something the other day which I really, really love, and it was a story of President Kennedy going to NASA Space Center and seeing a janitor there cleaning, and he went up to meet the janitor and said, hi, and what are you doing here? And he said, Mr. President, I'm helping to put a man on the moon. And when I heard that, it really touched me, because I honestly believe that whatever it is that we're doing in life, and some of us are working to our full capacity mentally, some of us are working to our full capacity physically. Whatever it is that we're doing, we're all there to help us together get to where we need to be. So I'm a big believer of that.
What motivates you?
I get excited by being able to make a difference. I like new challenges. Particularly at the nursery, our focus is always on how can we make it a better place for our children? How can we do more for the environment while we are running this nursery and we're taking so much from it? How can we give back? How can we give more than we take? That excites me. And that's kind of the message that I always try and give to my children, and I really want my kids to understand. And I had the conversation last night with them, and every time it's like, oh, mummy again. We take so much. At some point, you need to try and balance it out or give more.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you look 3 years in advance down the road? Do you look 12 months in advance down the road?
No.
Or do you just live in the moment?
No, I try not to. I've never been somebody who looks far into the future. I think 6 to 8 weeks is as far as I go. And I think that's because, yes, I do live in the moment, but I'm also somebody who gets very stressed out about things. I can get anxious and worried about things, and I've been trying to work on that. I recently had 3 months in Bali where we kind of put the brakes on. I was talking about that earlier. And I've been trying to work on not getting so anxious about certain things, which are out of my control.
How do you manage your time? How do you allocate time then for family, business and charity? How does that work for you? Is there structure, or are you really winging that as well?
I'm really lucky actually, because the line of work that I'm in, during, it's summer now, but during a average day where the kids are at school, I'll get up in the morning, get ready with the kids, get in the car, take the children to school. They're all in the same school, so drop them off and I head to work. I'm at work till 2 o'clock and then head to school, pick my kids up. So from the kind of 2 o'clock onwards, I'm mummy and I'm after school activities, I'm in the car, I'm driving around, it's homework, play dates, dinner time, bath time, and then once the kids are in bed, then I kind of normally my husband's home, and we bounce ideas off each other and talk about our day, and that's kind of the time where I can allocate to Harmony House as well after the kids are in bed. But I'm really lucky that I'm flexible at work, so if meetings come up during my work day, or if I need to allocate a couple of hours or even a whole day to a project that needs to be worked on, then I'm very lucky that I can do that.
Okay.
So it's flexibility.
Now, how does it make you feel when you win all of these awards? When you get nominated as Woman of the Year, when you get the top 100 most influential people, the top 50 most influential British people here. How does receiving that kind of stuff make you feel? Is it something that makes you kind of like rise because of it, or is it something that you kind of are quite shy of because you're so incredibly modest?
Of course, I'm a human, so anybody gets a pat on the back, you know, or gets recognised, then there's a certain part of you that secretly feels good about it, you know, of course. But at the same time, I recognise that the awards are only there because of other people, because of their work, their dedication, and yeah. And I hope that I would always recognise those people, and I probably don't as often as I should, but that's genuinely how I feel. But
now, if anybody wanted to learn more about Harmony House,
yes,
how would they go about learning more? Do you have a website?
We do, Harmony House India.
So harmonyhouseindia.org, and
yes,
that, if they go to that website,
yeah, they can learn about our story, about how we started with just 12 children and how we've evolved, and how today our objective is to give the hope of a better future to our children that come. So we don't just want to provide them with the nutrition that they need every day, which of course we do, but we want to give them more than that, or a safe space for those hours that they're with us. They come at 9, they finish at 5. We really need to get them out of the cycle of poverty that they've been born into. And that's our focus now, is how can we get these children to where they need to be in a situation where they are comfortable with who they are good human beings, they are self-sufficient, they are able to support financially themselves and their family, and able to pass on this message to their family, and what we hope is to as many other children when they become adults. So if we touch one life, we want them to go on and touch 5 lives, and then we just want it to spread. Wonderful.
And for your daycare centre,
yes,
what's the website for that?
harmonyhouseindia.org.
That's
oh, you mean for
okay,
for the nursery school?
Yeah.
Homegrown nursery.ae.
So homegrownnursery.ae is the business, the entrepreneur. Okay, the harmonyhouseindia.org is the charity. All of these links will be at the bottom of this video. If you were wanting to give advice to mums that had been in a professional environment like you had, that had then become parents like you have, that, like you say, need to get that self-worth and realise they're not there just to serve their kids, what kind of advice would you give to a mum that's saying, I don't know what to do, I want to do something, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to make a difference? What kind of advice could you give somebody like that?
First of all, you've got to let go of the guilt, because your children are going to be okay. You know, if you're away from them for a few hours, they are going to be okay, and you know what, they might learn something from it. Secondly, start doing something about it. I talked about this for ages, you know, and then somebody turned around and said to me, a good friend, you have been talking about this for months. When are you actually going to do something about it? And that hit me. That was the best advice that she could have given me. And I said, you know what, you're right. And that night I sat down and I wrote on a piece of paper, what is it that I need to do? Where do I want to be? How long is this going to take me? What's the first step? Who can help me? who do I need to reach out to help me? Because there are always people who will support you, and it might be somebody that you've only met once, but reach out, because, people, I find, are there for each other. Mm-hmm. And if you show that there is a willingness to grow and develop, and you get connected to that right person, they will help you get to where you need to be. And I've been blessed that those people have come into my life and helped me get to where I need to be to try and fulfill my purpose.
So, when you think about success, when you think about achievement, it doesn't always come in the same vein at all times for all people. Lucy is a really big success story here, although I hate to say that out loud. She's done such a fantastic job with her charity. She's built a really successful business. She's focused on being a great parent and maybe a great wife as well. I'll throw that in there as well.
I have to ask my husband about that.
And that can all be achieved. You can, if you set your mind to it, do that. There's a living, breathing example sitting here right with me right now. And as modest as she is, and I know lots of you will be looking at it saying, big yourself up a bit. As modest as she is, she's been very successful, and she's obviously focused on doing the right thing, which is so vitally important. Always try and do the right thing. Try and do your best for others, and if you can serve others in any way, you'll find that that's the most rewarding thing. Money isn't the only motivator in the world, and don't let it be yours. Lucy, thank you so much for coming and talking to me. It's been great having you here.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.
Follow the links below. You'll be able to catch up with what Lucy's doing online. Again, just type her name into Google. There's loads of stuff out there that she's done that's been so great. I've really enjoyed talking to her this afternoon. Whatever you do, make sure that you don't forget, get out and make it happen.